Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 260 of a year of change. I think I just spit at myself. Good start. We're also starting a new week today. We're starting in on sort of the last little stretch of our macronutrient thing that we've been doing. We did a big 12-week thing on all the bad stuff, and we've done a few weeks so far on the good stuff, carbohydrates and fats. Next one, today we're starting in on protein. Now, protein is just, we all have an idea in our head, I did anyway, you may not, where we have one of two ideas. One, protein is meat, or two, protein is the powder stuff that bodybuilders use. Because you always see this, we're going to have a protein shake and get all swole or hunch or hench or whatever the fuck it is, hunch. Whatever douchebag term that they seem to have for the moment. But the main thing that we're going to focus on, and we are going to get to all the supplements and all the other stuff in there in time, but the main thing that we're going to be looking at today is just sort of the basics. And the best way to put protein into, I guess, the easiest terms, does that make sense? No. The easiest way to describe protein, there we go, is probably just to look at them and say they are building blocks. They help us build muscle, they help us build bone, they help us build all the tissues in our body. And that's why the bodybuilders tend to go for, all the protein stuff, because it helps you build muscle. So when you're working out, you don't convert anything, but it facilitates that. So, but for our purposes, unless you're actually going full bore into all the exercise stuff, which we'll be looking at in a couple of weeks, chances are you're not too worried about building muscle. But, where we are burning fat, that is going to help as well. But there is a certain amount that we need in our diet that, we should be getting. That doesn't make any sense either. Yes, it does. There's a certain amount of protein that we need in our diet every day. Now, here's where things get a little cloudy, because there isn't really any recommended daily intake of protein, the same way that there is with, vitamins or iron or potassium, stuff like that. They do know that there's a lower limit to where people start becoming protein deficient, and that's where you run into all sorts of problems. But they also know that you can run into some problems if you have too much. Just like anything else, too much of anything is going to end up being bad, but it's so different for each person that there isn't really a recommended amount that people should be putting into their diet every day. They don't say, well, you need to have 90 grams or 112 grams or whatever it is. They base it roughly on, I think, there's a certain amount per kilogram of body weight that you have, but that, again, only takes into account, this is for sedentary lifestyle and an average person. It doesn't take into account whether you're underweight or overweight or if you have any other issues going on. And because it's so important to our body, they really do recommend, they can give you guidelines and say, here's what normally people should be having to avoid being deficient. But if you're really looking to find out how much you should be eating, almost all of them are saying go to a doctor, go to a dietitian, go to someone reliable to find out how much that you need. Now, obviously, the first thing that we think of when we think protein is usually meat. We're going to skip the powders for now, because that's bullshit. But in more ways than one, we looked at this on Friday. The protein powders don't even have as much protein as they say that they do. They're just called protein. Anyway, we're going to get into that later on in the week. But for our purposes today, that's really the main thing that we look at is, we look at meat. That's where people get their protein. And it's just generally sort of assumed. We know there's a little bit in milk or eggs or cheese, like dairy products that way, but it's still animal sources, I guess is probably the best way to put it. So, for the majority of us, we aren't protein deficient at all. We don't really need to worry about, getting enough in our diet. We have more than enough. And for those of you out there that are either vegetarian or vegan, but if you decide to go that way, there are other sources that you can, you have to eat more of it and you have to have a little bit more of a diverse diet for it. But there are sources that you can go to get more proteins. Like beans, legumes, more cheese. If you're completely vegan, then it's pretty much, you're kind of restricted. So beans, legumes, all sorts of beans, nuts, seeds, stuff like that, they will help out. You just have to eat much more of them in order to get what you need. For the rest of us, really the best source of protein overall, not the healthiest, obviously, but not, if you were to take everything into consideration, the most dense, I guess I should say, the most dense source of protein would be meat or animal products like eggs and cheese and milk, a little bit. But primarily it's going to be meat. And over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be looking at mixing in the meat with the legumes and the beans and the veggies and all the other stuff, because we don't want to just say, okay, well, I need 10 grams of meat, so let's have a steak every single time, because the source is important as well. You can have an entire steak, and that's going to do your protein great, but you've got a lot of saturated fat in there as well, which we learned about, which we're trying to watch out for. So you think, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. So then you say, well, I can have some pork. There we go. It's lower in fat, but sodium is going to be a bit higher because, if you have like ham or something like that. So then you have to take that into account. Fish is a very good source, and we looked at that as well. You get a good source of fatty acids. You get a good source of protein. Some of them are fairly low calorie. Some of them are a little more calorie dense, but much better for you all the way around. If you're not a fish eater, though, then you've got to, there's a whole slew of things that you can take into account. But the good thing is that there isn't a set amount that you need to have per day. Otherwise, you're going to fail in what you're doing. Now, right now, again, this is completely different for everybody. If you really need to know how much that you should be taking in, I'm going to put a couple of links in the description below for the Mayo Clinic and Harvard Health. Those are generally my two go-to places when I try to find information on stuff. So you'll see those in the description. But if you're really looking to find out, okay, how much do I need? Do I need more than regular people? Do I need less than regular people? According to my lifestyle, should I be eating more of it? Should I be cutting back on the amount? Are there certain things that I'm going to be allergic to that I can't have? Because generally, food allergens, it's based in the protein section of their food. So that's why people get allergic to stuff. For the most part, anyway, it's because there are proteins in it. So very rarely you find someone that is allergic to, well, even celery, I was going to say, but celery has protein in it. Tiny, tiny bit. Anyway, and that's when we sort of looked at, now, don't go for Cheerios. They got in trouble already. We've already talked about that. So, that's actually a very good point. When you look at it that way and say, okay, well, Cheerios, protein. Yeah, but there's so many other things you need to take into account. So trying to find a good source, that's really important as well, which we'll get into later on down the road. So we've had either meat or fish or dairy products, or if you're vegetarian and you just say, just going to go with, vegetarian stuff. If you're going completely vegan, we already looked at tofu a long time ago. There are beans in there, there are seeds and nuts, all that stuff, and generally there are vegetables. You just need to eat much, much more of them. Many more of them? Much more of it? It's a plural on that. Anyway, I was going to mention something else, and I have forgotten what it was. Anyway, each person is going to be different as to exactly what you need, but for the sake of that's what I was going to talk about. Anyway, but for the sake of what we're trying to do, I'm going by MyFitnessPal. And MyFitnessPal sort of has your macros set up so that carbohydrates make up 50% of your diet, fat makes up 30%, and then the remaining 20% is protein. And admittedly, my protein is not where it should be. I'm usually a little bit below my protein. Carbohydrates, I've been hovering around 50, like 45, 50% for the past little while. This week, when I went through all my numbers and everything, my fats were really, really high. I was going to say way high. Way freaking high, eh? They were really, really high. So I went in to take a look at it because the majority of the stuff that I've been eating this week has been pretty good from Wednesday on. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday was not good. Not fat-wise, just calorie-wise, just wasn't eating properly. And then throughout the rest of the week, I pretty much lived on shrimp and shreddies. Not together. That would be a horrible breakfast. But, and I was trying to figure out, okay, well, shrimp does have quite a bit of sodium in it, unfortunately, but there's lots of protein, so I should have been getting that, and it's very low calorie. There's no fat. So I'm trying to figure out where the fat was coming from. And then I realized, it's okay because I did cook it with olive oil. And because the amount of calories I've been taking in have been fairly low, and there are fats in oatmeal, which I put into my cereal as well, but all the sources of fat have been really good, except for, I think, 1 or 2 teaspoons of margarine or something. But even that could have been much, much worse. So overall, yes, too much fat in there, but it's okay. I don't feel quite as bad. I mean, Sunday and Monday, I can guarantee you that any fats that I got from there were not good. They were bad fats. So, but I was looking through the rest of the week, a little bit better off. So, for the sake of what we're trying to do here, when we look at our protein, we're going to be going by MyFitnessPal. Now, if you have gone to your doctor, or if you've gone to a dietitian, or if you were smart and punched a nutritionist in the face because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but you've gone to those two, and you have a better number that suits you, then definitely use that number. More than anything else, that's what's going to be, I mean, the doctor or a dietitian, those are going to be the ones that are going to know exactly what's best for you. For me, I haven't consulted anyone. I haven't looked at a doctor, I haven't looked at a dietitian. So I'm going by MyFitnessPal because it's easiest for me. And right now, it's been working, us trying to fiddle around with those levels. And the good thing is, too, is that where we've sort of looked at carbohydrates already, and we've tried to keep that around the 50% mark, and then we looked at our fats, and we've done some improvement on those, your protein is probably close to where you need to be anyway. So this week, it's not really going to be too much of a change for us, so much as, again, being more aware of what we're doing. Trying to get those numbers to match and finding out, getting those better sources of protein. That if you have a chance and you can say, well, I mean, if you are going to have a steak, then have a steak because they're great. If you've decided, you know what, I want to have a good steak. I have the calories for it. This is my reward. I really want to have something. It's not going to kill you. I mean, clear off as much of the bad stuff as you can, but everyone loves it. Well, not everyone. Vegans don't, but everyone loves the steak. I mean, we're hardwired to enjoy it. That's what we're designed for. We've evolved that way, to enjoy meat and vegetables and fruits and everything else. We eat pretty much everything. So if you're going to have that, don't say, well, I can't have this now because it's the wrong kind of protein. So instead I'll have dried tuna. No, if you prefer fish, have fish. If you prefer meat, have meat. If you prefer vegetables and fruits and stuff like that, have that. If you think, you know what, I'm going to have a little mixture of everything, have some chili. Chili would be really good, actually. Because actually, you know what? Aside from the meat itself, chili I think is fairly low calorie because it's pretty much all vegetables and tomatoes and spices. Lots and lots of sodium. So there would be that. But you'd get quite a bit of protein from the beans and, the meat. And the rest is just all vegetable stuff. Maybe that's what I'll do. I may make some chili this week. I'm not one of those people that goes, oh, my world famous chili, and it's not really all that good. It's just chili, and it's not really that good, but it's cheap, and I like it. So, anyway, getting off topic here. But, so no change for this week. But trying to find out, and unless you've signed up for the premium stuff on MyFitnessPal, I still haven't. I'm not going to. So this isn't an ad for them or anything. But if you've signed up for that, you can just go in and find out where your protein sources are, and that'll give you a rough idea as to where you stand. For me, I just go in manually and do it because it does the exact same thing. So I just go in, take a look at your diet, even if it's just been over the past week. Because chances are I was going to say sodium levels again. Your protein levels are probably roughly where they need to be. So take a look at your eating habits over the past week or past 2 or 3 weeks if you want. Just to go in and to see, okay, this is where I'm generally getting my sources of protein. And you can take a look and see if you're getting it more for breakfast or more at the end of the day, wherever it is. And see if there's anything in there that you can look at and say, you know what, I can do better here, I can do better there. If you're getting your protein, the only time you're ever getting your protein is from, like processed meats, chances are you can probably do better. Because although the meat itself is okay, there's a lot of fat in it, there's a lot of sodium, all that stuff. So what you want to do is sort of say, okay, so have 1 day a week. If that's all that you're getting, take 1 day a week where you're not taking, and it's not because of the cancer thing, don't worry, you're okay, you're not going to die, but take 1 day a week where you say, I'm not going to have processed meat first, processed, one of the two. I'm not going to have that. I'm not going to have a cold cut sandwich for this week. For this lunch on this day, I'm not going to have it. I'm going to have something a little bit different. And for the vast majority of us, we aren't doing that anymore. I can't talk at all. We aren't doing that anymore. We aren't eating, like double-decker cold cut sandwiches every single day like we used to, because we've made so many changes in our diet that we've gotten to a point where, generally we're eating healthy. We're going to have a day here and there where it's not so great, but overall, we're doing all right. So if you go through and you look at it and say, you know what, it's I'm doing all right. I'm eating my numbers. I'm getting good sources. I'm mixing in fish and meat and vegetables and everything else. Then you're good to go. If you decide to go vegetarian and try something new, go for it. If you go vegan, which when it comes to vegan and vegetarianism and stuff like that, it's more of a, you know what, if you want to do it, go ahead. You're not going to die from it. There are plenty of other sources, and we have the resources that we can certainly do that. It's that moral high ground that people sort of get with that pisses people off. So if you decide that you're going to go vegetarian or vegan or something like that, there are a lot of places that you can go that, well, it sounds like a store. There are different sources that you can get your protein from. You just need to sort of up those. So if you have started in on that, you'll probably notice that your protein levels are very, very low. So add in more things like tofu and, beans, and just whether it's green beans or brown beans or whatever it is, stuff like that. And that's going to help boost those as well, just so that you get to where you need to be. None of us are really in any danger of being protein deficient. It's very, very, very low in North America. You really only run into that in places where there's famine going on, things like that. So you don't really run too much of a risk that way, but we still need it. We still need to keep ourselves balanced out. We need to be healthy. We need to make sure that we're on the right track across the board with everything. And so adding in this new little thing should be a little bit easier than when we first started out, because we've been measuring everything else out and trying to keep everything else balanced. So this is pretty much in its slot where it needs to be. Oh, that's right. I've been doing that a lot during this conversation. You know what I mean. We've been watching sodium and sugar and fat and carbs and what were the other bad things? Sodium, sugar, fat, carbohydrates, fiber. Anyway, all the other stuff where we've been sort of measuring and tweaking all those things. This is really the last piece, and this is, we know where it's going to fit. We know that it's going to be roughly where it needs to be anyway. It's not going to be every day, obviously, because, for example, this week I had 3 or 4 days in a row where I had shrimp every day. It was great. There's a lot of protein in that. There's a lot of sodium in that as well. But I didn't add any extra stuff to it. But having that shrimp, that's my protein is going to go poop right through the roof for that. But the week before, where I didn't have a lot of, I don't know if I had any meat actually. Very few eggs, stuff like that. If I'm focusing more on trying to get like whole grains, there's another source of protein as well. So week to week it's going to fluctuate, but overall is really what we're concerned with. I feel like I buggered that last little snippet up completely. I'm going to leave it there though, because I don't know if there's anything else I can do. So I know this is a little bit weird where we're starting in a new thing, but no changes. But again, go in, take a look at where it stands right now. If you find you're below that 20%, then yes, probably take a look at it and say, where can I add more in? And it doesn't have to be animal stuff. It can be beans. It can be tofu, because we did look at that. It can be just increasing the amount of vegetables that you're eating, because there is a little bit of protein in vegetables anyway in general, and you can get it from there. Just try to find the best sources that you can for it. But don't get to a point where you're saying, well, I need another 5% of protein, so great, we're going to have 2 more sandwiches. That's not going to work. It's going to defeat our purpose. But just overall, I think if we could take a look at what we're eating, and just like everything else, see where we can improve it, even if it's a tiny little change. Whether it's 1 day a week, or if you say, well, on the weekends I'm going to have my steak, that'll be fine. So for the rest of the week, I'm going to try to get my protein from vegetable sources, or change actually like I did, and I still haven't bought milk in a very long time. Since I feel like I was going to say there's something in my teeth. No, there's not. Sorry, I got distracted there. Since we did all the stuff on soybeans, I haven't bought milk. I tried not the almond milk, what was it? Cashew milk, which was just watery and just tasted like someone had thrown a handful of cashews in water. But I went back to the soy milk, which I actually do enjoy. It stays quite a bit longer. And I'm only using it for cereal anyway. So, I am getting some protein, even though it's sort of pumped back into it. It's all fortified with chemicals and everything else, but it's fine. So whether it's getting it from dairy products like milk or cheese or eggs, or if you say, no, I have enough, I'm going through my meat I'm going to get my sources through there or through vegetables. Again, getting the balance, mixing between beef and pork and fish and dairy and vegetables and beans and legumes and all the other stuff. That's, I think, what our goal should, that is what I think our goal should be. Not so that we say, okay, well, for protein, I'm going to have raisins. There we go. That's my protein for the day. I don't know if they actually have protein in them. Iron, I'm thinking of. So protein, I'm not going to have raisins because that would be stupid. For protein, I'm going to have beef. There we go. That's my protein. Now for fatty acids, I want to have fish. And then for, vitamin C, I'm going to have just oranges. We need to keep, we've opened up our dietary menu, I guess, for lack of a better term. That variety, we've opened that up a lot over the past few months, and so we should stick with that. So if you find a good source that you enjoy, then by all means, go for that. But we can get it a little bit from everywhere. But our numbers are probably pretty much where they need to be, so not too much of a change for the time being. Anyway, I didn't really give much information on this one, did I? My plan was originally to say, well, here's what protein does, and here's where you can get it and everything else, but really, well, we sort of have covered that, haven't we? It's building blocks. It helps us build tissue within our body, whether it's, bone or muscle or saliva glands or whatever, which are working overtime because I'm drooling all over the place, I feel. But we do need it. And it's something that, we have a wide variety of sources to go to get it. So this is going to be one of the few times that I'm going to say, if you're vegetarian or vegan, it's still okay. You can still go get whatever you need to. It's not like you're going to be deficient in anything and have to supplement it with anything else. You'll be able to get it where you need to get it. You may have to eat more of it, but you're eating more anyway because you're all vegan and you're not getting all the stuff that you need in general. In general, I would say vegetarianism and veganism is not the best, but again, not a doctor, not a dietitian. And it's a little different now where we have sources that people can get pretty much what they need. So overall, do what you're going to do. As for me, I still like bacon because it's awesome. And it's great. There you go. Can you imagine the diet where you're going to say, well, you need protein, so go have bacon. Even though the sodium and the fat will kill you. So it's probably not the best source of it. But every now and then, you got to have bacon because it's bacon. Anyway, bad habits. Bad advice probably in the long run. But we know what we're doing, sort of. We know that, overall, throughout the year, we're eating healthy. We're having lean meats, we're having more fish, we're having things like that. So, but every now and then, when you have those moments when you go, I just want something bad for me, then we can have it. The difference is we aren't having it every day like we used to. So at least we have that. Anyway, how far? This is going on way too long. This is going on far, far, far too long, and I haven't given you any information whatsoever. But it's enough. I'm going to put the description in the link below. Again, I keep doing that. The links in the description below for Harvard Health and Mayo Clinic. If you do want to get a little bit of the more sciencey aspects of it, we are going to be touching on those throughout the next couple of weeks anyway. But for right now, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.